January 3rd, 2026, 2:01 a.m. local time. American military helicopters sliced through darkness over Caracas, Venezuela, carrying the planet's deadliest operators toward an objective many considered untouchable. Inside those aircraft sit members of Delta Force, the United States Army's most secretive counterterrorism unit. Night vision goggles transform the blackness below into ghostly green, revealing a military fortress crawling with armed defenders. The target, Nicolás Maduro, authoritarian president of Venezuela, protected by thousands of soldiers, Russian air defense systems, and Cuban intelligence operatives. In precisely 2 hours and 28 minutes, Maduro will be in American custody, blindfolded and zip-tied aboard the USS Kearsarge, facing narco-terrorism charges in New York. But this operation didn't begin on January 3rd. The story of how America executed the impossible starts 5 months earlier in the classified corridors of Langley, Virginia. Before we dissect every phase of this mission, understand what you're about to witness: the largest, most complex special operations assault since the raid that killed Osama bin Laden. This is Operation Absolute Resolve, the complete account of how the world's most powerful military captured a sitting head of state. Before we continue, smash that subscribe button and leave a like. Now let's dive in. August 2025. Newly confirmed CIA Director John Ratcliffe receives direct authorization from President Donald Trump to conduct covert operations inside Venezuelan territory. Within days, a hand-picked team of CIA operatives crosses the Venezuelan border, initiating what will become the most significant intelligence penetration in Latin American history. Their mission is laser-focused: track Nicolás Maduro's every movement, map his entire security structure, and identify weaknesses in his protective bubble. The CIA team establishes surveillance networks throughout Caracas, monitoring Maduro's pattern of life with predatory patience. They document his sleeping locations, motorcade routes, restaurant visits, even his pets' routines. General C.Q. Brown, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, later confirms that American intelligence possessed granular details about Maduro's daily schedule, down to his meal preferences. But the CIA's most valuable asset isn't satellite imagery or electronic eavesdropping. It's a human source planted deep within Maduro's inner circle. This individual, whose identity remains sealed under national security protocols, has penetrated the highest echelons of Venezuelan power and feeds real-time intelligence directly to American handlers. The source provides critical details: security protocols, guard rotation schedules, and, crucially, where Maduro will be sleeping on any specific night. According to officials briefed on the operation, this human intelligence asset transforms the mission from theoretical fantasy into executable reality. The CIA doesn't operate in isolation. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and CIA Director Ratcliffe emerge as primary advocates for decisive military action. Throughout fall 2025, the intelligence picture crystallizes, revealing a dictator who rotates between safe houses but maintains a primary residence at Fuerte Tiuna, Venezuela's largest military installation in central Caracas. Within this fortress, Maduro has constructed a heavily reinforced residence featuring steel-reinforced doors, a fortified panic room, and multiple escape routes engineered to defeat exactly this type of assault. While CIA operatives gather intelligence inside Venezuela, the United States launches the largest Caribbean military buildup since the 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis. September 2025, the Pentagon deploys the USS Gerald R. Ford, the world's largest aircraft carrier, to waters north of Venezuela. The Ford Carrier Strike Group brings FA-18 Super Hornets, EA-18G Growler electronic warfare aircraft, and E-2D Hawkeye early warning platforms. United States Southern Command positions destroyers, cruisers, and amphibious assault ships throughout the Caribbean. By late December, American forces in the region exceed 15,000 personnel, dramatically larger than required for stated counter-narcotics operations. The 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment, the legendary Night Stalkers, quietly deploys specialized helicopters to forward Caribbean bases. These elite aviators are universally recognized as the finest helicopter pilots on Earth, trained exclusively for high-risk insertions. Their fleet includes MH-60 Blackhawks, MH-47 Chinooks, and MH-6 Littlebirds. The Night Stalkers flew the missions that captured Saddam Hussein and killed Osama bin Laden. Now they prepare for their most politically explosive operation in history. F-22 Raptor stealth fighters begin rotating through Puerto Rico, establishing forward presence within striking distance of Caracas. F-35 Lightning II. Stealth fighters arrive, 10 aircraft at the former Roosevelt Roads Naval Station. B-1B Lancer bombers from Texas begin Caribbean missions, detected by civilian flight trackers. The official justification, Operation Southern Spear, a counter-narcotics campaign. Since September, American forces have struck at least 35 suspected drug boats, killing over 114 individuals. But military analysts understand the actual purpose. The assembled firepower far exceeds anything necessary for maritime interdiction. November 21, 2025. President Donald Trump picks up a secure telephone and places a direct call to Nicolás Maduro, initiating the final diplomatic phase before kinetic action. During a 15-minute conversation, Trump delivers an ultimatum with zero ambiguity: resign immediately, leave Venezuela with your family, or face the consequences. Trump offers Maduro safe passage, suggesting exile in Russia or China, and reportedly permits him to retain up to $200 million in personal assets. According to sources familiar with the call, Maduro wavers, nearly accepting before making demands Washington finds unacceptable. Maduro demands blanket amnesty for himself, his wife Celia Flores, and approximately 100 top officials accused of drug trafficking and human rights violations. He also insists on maintaining some control over Venezuela's armed forces during any transition. Trump rejects these conditions, giving Maduro 1 week to leave voluntarily before military options will be executed. That deadline expires Friday, November 28th. Maduro responds not with surrender, but with defiance, holding rallies and denouncing American imperialism. Speaking at Miraflores Palace on December 1st, Maduro tells thousands that Venezuela desires peace, but only peace with sovereignty and freedom. He declares his country will never accept what he terms a slave's peace, rejecting any capitulation despite the armada off his coastline. Trump later recalls that Maduro came within moments of surrendering, adding that after the capture, the Venezuelan dictator surely regretted not taking the deal when offered. With diplomatic options exhausted, the Pentagon shifts into final preparation mode, activating the most intensive mission rehearsal cycle since Operation Neptune Spear. At a classified facility, Delta Force operators practice their assault on a full-scale replica of Maduro's residence constructed from CIA intelligence. This mock-up includes the steel-reinforced doors, hallway layouts, and exact dimensions of the panic room Maduro will attempt reaching. President Trump later describes this replica to Fox News, noting it features all the same steel everywhere, replicating the fortress-like protection Maduro believes will save him. The operators rehearse breach techniques, room-clearing procedures, and extraction protocols dozens of times until every movement becomes instinctive muscle memory. General Brown explains the philosophy. We trained not to get it right, but to ensure we could not possibly get it wrong. Special equipment is prepared, including what Trump describes as massive blowtorches capable of cutting through reinforced steel doors. The FBI's hostage rescue team integrates into the operation to provide legal authority for formally arresting Maduro once Delta Force secures him. This arrangement allows the administration to characterize the mission as law enforcement with military support rather than purely military action. By Christmas 2025, President Trump approves the operation in principle, though the exact execution date depends on weather and final intelligence. The original plan targets New Year's Eve, but meteorological conditions over the Caribbean and mountains surrounding Caracas force postponement. Throughout the holiday week, Delta Force operators and Night Stalker pilots remain on standby, waiting for the order that will launch them into history. Operation Absolute Resolve represents the largest synchronized special operations mission in American history, coordinating assets across every domain of modern warfare. Over 150 aircraft will participate, launching from 20 different bases throughout the Western Hemisphere. F-22 Raptors provide air superiority. F-35s combine strike capability with electronic warfare. B-1B Lancers deliver precision munitions. Navy destroyers stand ready with Tomahawk cruise missiles. United States Cyber Command activates sophisticated capabilities to penetrate Venezuelan networks and disable communications infrastructure. Delta Force provides the ground assault element. The 160th will fly the helicopters at extremely low altitude to evade radar. The Venezuelan air defense network American forces must penetrate represents billions in Russian and Chinese military technology. The backbone, the S-300VM system, purchased from Russia for approximately $1 billion, capable of engaging targets at ranges exceeding 200 kilometers. Supporting systems include Buk M2E medium-range missiles and Pantsir S-1 short-range defense, combining cannons with radar-guided missiles. Chinese JY-27 early warning radars theoretically detect stealth aircraft. The Venezuelan Air Force operates 21 Su-30 flanker fighters capable of carrying anti-ship missiles. Cuban intelligence operatives are embedded throughout Maduro's security apparatus. On paper, Venezuela possesses one of Latin America's most formidable air defense networks, a shield Maduro believes will make any American attack impossibly costly. Evening of January 2, 2026. President Trump gathers with his national security team at Mar-a-Lago to monitor what will become his most consequential military decision. At 10:46 p.m. Eastern Time, Trump issues the final execute order, good luck and Godspeed. Within minutes, aircraft begin lifting off from 20 bases, converging toward Venezuelan airspace in meticulously choreographed waves. The first wave consists of electronic warfare aircraft and stealth platforms designed to blind Venezuelan radar before the main assault can be detected. United States Cyber Command launches coordinated attacks against Venezuelan military networks, causing widespread disruptions. President Trump later suggests the United States blacked out Caracas using what he calls certain expertise. EA-18G Growlers and F-35s flood Venezuelan airwaves with electronic noise, forcing radar operators to increase power output. The moment those radars power up to full strength, they become beacons for American AGM-88 HARM anti-radiation missiles designed to home in on radar emissions. Within minutes, 12 major radar installations across northern Venezuela go dark, operators either eliminated or forced to shut down to avoid destruction. F-22 Raptors establish air superiority over Caracas, their stealth characteristics making them virtually invisible to surviving detection systems. Venezuelan Su-30 pilots attempting to scramble from Valencia Air Base receive radio warnings in Spanish, return to base immediately or you will be destroyed. Facing American fifth-generation fighters already dominating their airspace, Venezuelan pilots wisely return to their hangars. At 2 a.m. local time, Tomahawk cruise missiles launched from Navy destroyers begin impacting targets across northern Venezuela, creating spectacular explosions visible for miles. Ammunition depots at Fuerte Tiuna military base erupt in secondary explosions, the night sky illuminated by cascading fireballs. Fuel storage facilities at La Guaira port are struck, sending columns of black smoke rising, drawing military response teams toward the coast. Air bases receive precision strikes that crater runways and destroy maintenance facilities. These strikes aren't designed for mass casualties, but to create maximum confusion, drawing Venezuelan military attention away from the true objective. Air raid sirens wail across Caracas as panicked civilians flee to shelters, convinced a full-scale invasion is underway. Venezuelan military units rush toward explosions on the city's periphery, exactly as American planners intended, leaving Maduro's compound with reduced protection. While explosions rock Caracas's outskirts, Helicopters from the 160th cross the Venezuelan coastline, flying barely 100 feet above the waves. The pilots navigate through mountain passes using terrain-following techniques, using the very geography Venezuela believed would protect its capital as concealment. At 2:01 a.m., the lead helicopter carrying Delta Force operators reaches the perimeter of Maduro's compound within Fuerte Tiuna. Venezuelan ground forces open fire on approaching helicopters, striking one aircraft, but failing to bring it down as the armored machine continues. American helicopters return fire with overwhelming force, their door gunners and attack helicopters suppressing defensive positions. Fast ropes drop from hovering helicopters as Delta Force operators descend onto compound grounds, their movements rehearsed to perfection. Inside his residence, Maduro awakens to explosions and gunfire, immediately understanding the moment he'd feared has finally arrived. He attempts reaching his steel-reinforced safe room, the panic room designed to protect him until rescue forces arrive. But Delta Force operators move with speed Maduro cannot match, breaching doors with explosive charges and flooding rooms with overwhelming precision. They intercept Maduro before he reaches the safe room door, tackling the Venezuelan president and securing him with flex cuffs in seconds. His wife, Celia Flores, is secured separately as FBI agents accompanying the assault force formally place both under arrest on narco-terrorism conspiracy charges. By 2:16 a.m., just 16 minutes after the first helicopters arrived, Maduro and Flores are aboard an extraction helicopter lifting off from the compound. Cuban security personnel who attempted resistance are killed in the firefight, with Cuba later confirming 32 of its citizens died during the operation. The extraction helicopters race north across the Caribbean, escorted by fighter jets and attack helicopters providing continuous protective coverage. By 3:29 a.m. Eastern Time, General Brown confirms the helicopters carrying Maduro have crossed into international waters beyond Venezuelan retaliation reach. Maduro is transferred to the USS Kearsarge, where he's photographed blindfolded, wearing a gray Nike sweatsuit. President Trump posts that photograph to Truth Social, showing the former Venezuelan president holding a plastic water bottle, his face covered with soundproof headphones. At 5:21 a.m., Venezuelan time, Trump officially announces Maduro and Flores have been captured and flown out following the large-scale strike. Later that day, a C-17 Globemaster III carries Maduro to Stewart Air National Guard Base in New York, where federal agents wait. He's helicoptered to Manhattan, transported in an armored motorcade, and processed at a DEA field office before being jailed. On January 5, 2026, Nicolás Maduro stands in a Manhattan federal courtroom wearing an orange jumpsuit, facing narco-terrorism and cocaine importation charges. Before entering his plea, Maduro declares, "I am the president of Venezuela. I consider myself a prisoner of war. I was captured at my home in Caracas." Both Maduro and his wife plead not guilty, with the judge ordering them held without bail, pending trial scheduled for later in 2026. The Russian-made air defense systems supposed to protect Venezuela failed completely, unable to stop a single American aircraft during the entire operation. Military analysts note the S-300VM systems were designed for a different warfare era, incapable of countering the networked, electronic warfare-heavy American assault. The success of Operation Absolute Resolve demonstrates the overwhelming superiority of American military technology and the irreplaceable value of human intelligence on the ground. President Trump declares no nation in the world could achieve what America achieved that night, calling it one of the most stunning displays of military power in history. The operation that captured Nicolás Maduro lasted just 2 hours and 28 minutes from first strike to extraction confirmation, rewriting the rules of modern special operations. It proved that with sufficient intelligence, adequate preparation, and overwhelming force, even the most protected targets in the most defended locations can be reached. And it sent an unmistakable message to dictators, terrorists, and narco-traffickers everywhere. American justice, when it finally comes, arrives without warning and without mercy. If you found this breakdown valuable, hit that subscribe button. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. Thanks for watching.